Greetings, YouTube. If I was put on the spot and asked to pick one musical artist as my favorite, that artist would have to be Steve Earle. I first encountered Steve Earle ages ago with his Copperhead Road album. And though I've collected pretty much everything he's done since then and before then, Copperhead Road is still my favorite album. If I remember, I'll post a link to the song itself. There's a copy of it on YouTube available to look at. And it's, to me, the iconic Steve Earle song. He has a combination of blues and folks and bluegrass that, while similar to other artists, is uniquely his. It doesn't hurt that he's one of the best guitar players I've ever heard. But his life has not been smooth. He started in the musical industry young, and he started a love of chemicals young as well. And that story is told in this book, Hardcore Troubadour, The Life and Near Death of Steve Earle by Lauren St. John. This is a big book. This is not for the faint of heart. You should really be very interested in the life of a musician or very much into Steve Earle or both before you tackle it. I was thrilled to see this. I wasn't even aware that it had been available till after it had been in print for a while. And I really enjoyed this book. Partly because in some ways Steve and I had a similar experience in life when it came to acquiring a love of chemicals. I never became an addict, thankfully, but Mr. Earle did. And but he started young, and he discovered very, very quickly that chemicals are something he enjoyed. And I discovered the same. In my particular case, it was alcohol. When I was a drinker, I was a very good drinker. But at 22, I decided that I didn't want to be a drinker anymore, and I've been sober for 23 years. I decided to stop drinking before I became an alcoholic. Thought that was a good step. But this is a biography. This helped. I mean, Steve Earle was involved with this book every step of the way, but he's not a prose author. I read some of his liner notes. His prose are a little stilted. But he was involved in this every step of the way. This was his story, and he just had the help of Lauren St. John to write it. It starts from when he was a child, up through his first encounters as a teenager with a life of music, and eventually the path that it took him on, both musically and chemically. Mr. Earle is also a serial marrier. He likes to marry people. He even married the same woman twice, and both marriages failed. In fact, at the end of this book, he is in a relationship with a woman, and she says, she quotes, the only reason their relationship works is because she refuses to marry him. He just likes to marry people, and I believe he's had 5 of them by the end of this book. I have no idea what he's done since then. I haven't followed his personal story since I read this book. But he had some very low points, full-fledged, I'm a crack addict living in the street kind of low points, losing everything he's had, wiping himself out financially. When he sings the blues, he has a reason to. He's been there. He's seen that. He's done it. He knows exactly what it's like. And he survived to tell the tale. And we have his music, his songs, as proof of that tale. One of the things I like about Mr. Earle is that not only does he sing songs that tell stories, which is my favorite style of music. One of the reasons I love the blues and the folk music so much is because they convey, it's more than just a pop song. Now, I have nothing against pop songs. There's some cool pop songs out there. And I was a major Bowie fan when I was younger. And, you know, a lot of his songs are not deep, but they're incredibly catchy and they're wonderful work. And I would still have to put Bowie in like my top 5 artists, right up there with Joe Cocker. But his stories are not just biographical, but they're parts of our history. They're part and parcel of the American experience. And he's willing to tell these stories from both a lyrical point of view, because they're good stories, but also from a political point of view. He discusses race relations. He discusses our roles in wars. He discusses the way we treat veterans. He discusses political structures in all ways, shapes, and forms. One of his liner notes once said, if you don't vote, don't bitch. And quite frankly, it was a line that haunted me for years, and it was one of the reasons eventually that I began to vote, because now I can bitch. And he does this with beautiful poetry, accompanied with incredibly wonderful music, guitar, that just makes me smile every time I hear it, even in the sad songs. He's a troubadour. He tells the story of America. And for me, he does it better than Bruce Springsteen, who was a much more popular artist. His songs may not be as played on radios. In fact, I can't remember the last time I heard a Steve Earle song played on a radio. But his work is wonderful. And I love him as a person in the fact that he's a gift to us, and I'm glad we have him. And I hope that he continues to put out songs for a long and storied career. I want to hear what he's got to say. Because even though his life is straighter now, his life is more on track, he's got a lifetime of experience that he's willing to bring it to us and tell us and show us things that we have not personally experienced through his music. So if you are a Steve Earle fan, this is a book for you. If you aren't, listen to his music, because he's an amazing artist.